Well, hello, beautiful souls. This is the week of October 17th, 2025. I'm going to look at our reading for this week, see what's going on. I think I'm using the exact same deck as last week, so let's give it a little shuffle and see what is up for us, what's going to be happening. What do we need to look out for? It is such a general question that I'm asking. And I kind of like that. It kind of pulls me into all of the different elements that are going on in the world. All right, I threw a few cards around and let's see. I'll spread them out and we'll see the first card, which is Family, Hope, and Commitment. All right. So if we look at family, hope, and commitment, hopefully I can bring this a little bit closer. It's not so straightforward doing these cards with a cell phone, taking the video and then trying to focus the light. We've got, light is changing now. It's because it's October, so the light is a little bit different. It's getting a little darker, so the reflections are a little bit more. In any case, it's so interesting to see all the light that is going into the camera. But when I look down at the table here, it's quite dark, so fascinating. All right, so family, hope, home, and commitment. I have a lot to say about that. I mean, I'll tell you a story. So many, many years ago, oh my God, it was in my 40s, and now I'm in my 60s. I really thought my purpose in life was to use my abilities, my intuitive abilities, to help people to have better lives, to do something better. And of course, this went through the gamut of so many different convolutions, permutations, and roads to understand more and more. Well, no, that's not necessarily what it's all about. That is a beautiful thing to help people. That's not, I didn't erase any of that. But when it came to I'm not just, or people who help people are not just this hollow shell that must go out there and, help others, and there's no being within, of course. Each individual who helps has a soul and has their own way of going about helping others, but they have a life. So some of us bought into the whole idea of, I've got to be solitary and take care of myself so I can do all of this. And yeah, by the time I reached my 40s, I was sitting around working very hard, which I've done most of my life has worked really, really hard. So working really hard, helping as many people as possible, and personally, just struggling, trying to make ends meet, or even though I was very, very busy, I was always doing a lot more, even if it was unpaid work or caring for people when they were, down and out, and not really looking after myself, whether it was financial, whether it was rest time, whether it was to take a vacation, whether it's just always about everyone else. Now, believe me, I do not regret any of those moments. I think they were beautiful. I think they were wonderful. But when it comes down to what it was required to nurture this body, and by the way, a lot of people who are just like me have come to the same conclusion. Some of them already had family and partners and children and extended family, and some did not. And I just sat around thinking, is this really all there is? Is this what I'm going to do? Just be a vehicle of helping other people. And I felt deep down in my soul that was not the most substantial way of, or the most, probably if I looked at God and I went to God and he said, what did you do this lifetime? Well, I sacrificed my entire life to help others. I felt like he would say, Well, that wasn't the point exactly. Helping others is fine, is wonderful, is great, but you didn't help the soul, the being that is you. You didn't take care of that person. You didn't create family with that person. You didn't create a relationship with that person. You didn't create a life where you could age with someone else. And of course, I'm giving you a very small, narrow focus into my life. But when I look at this card and I see family, home, and commitment, my family was for many years the people that I would help. It's where my home lay. I even worked in my own home. And I said, okay, that's what I'm committed to. And of course, everyone at the end of the day would be gone and I would be alone. I'd even created a life where I would work almost 24 hours a day so that I could work with people overseas. So I'd be, let's say, 3 o'clock in the morning, you'd find me helping people, over in Hong Kong, where it was 3 o'clock for them. And I'd sleep maybe a couple of hours and that would be my day. And I loved it. I loved every minute of it. But you still, when the time came that I could not do that many hours, I couldn't keep working like that. The body was obviously communicating that, hey, you are living in a body. You're living in a temple. It needs some attention. It needs some help. And yeah, I started looking around saying, you know, everything I do to help people is to have a better life in their bodies, yes, but also to have a wonderful life with their families, in their relationship. That was everything. And here I wasn't doing it. So I started seeking that out. So when I look at a card coming up like this for the week in advance, it's to re-examine what we think family is. We need to re-examine our home life and to understand what commitment is and to find the best framing of those that are going to optimize not only you, but your family. I am not just going to say, well, everyone can turn this into a positive experience. Not necessarily. But your reframe, your shift in perspective, and you do actually have a section in the brain that can see things from a different perspective, will help you make whatever, if you've got a difficult decision to make, if you're feeling down, if you're feeling blue, if you're feeling like you lack energy, if you're feeling you're alone. So there are people who are already in families, there are people who don't have families. This is a good time to reframe how you see these things. Reframe how you see commitment. I remember many years ago, Cher said, um, well, marriage is an institution, and I don't want to be committed to an institution. And yeah, it was very clever. It was very lovely. But she did get married and have kids. And the rest of us who listened to it went, ha ha ha, that's really good, gung ho for her. But she did not follow those parameters. And the many of us did. Many of us were told many things, including me. I was brainwashed by certain elements. There was part of me that looked at feminism when I was in 1975, and I said something is very wrong with this whole thing. This hatred of men, etc., is not good. That everything is men's fault, etc. I didn't like it at all. But I did fall into the trap of being an independent woman, being a strong woman, making sure you can thrive and take care of everyone. And I never put my partners up to that same task where you have to be committed to. So I just kind of backed off and said, well, until I could do it all, which is very much what women have been taught. You can get it all and you can do it all. Not realizing that, oh my God, that you're going to have to make a sacrifice somewhere. So, like I did, I made sacrifice of getting married, sacrificed having children to do that. And now, hopefully, I can give you some of my wisdom, realizing, wow, that was just a big big boo-boo, man. That didn't work out. Now, to each his own, and of course there's going to be someone who's just fine living all by themselves, alone, without any companionship. There are those people. There are people who are just fine working, 24/7 till the day they die. I am not talking about everyone. I'm talking about generally family, home, and commitment are very beautiful things. So if somebody says, I like living alone and I think commitment is stupid, you're talking to the wrong person. I'm not ever going to say to someone that you want to be alone, live alone, have your life alone. This is what you'd like to do. Great. That's wonderful. What I'm looking at here is family, home, and commitment. If you have a negative view of it, it needs to be redefined for you. You need to see it from a different angle because that can end up being your nemesis. That could your own ideas about what's going on could be a nemesis toward in your life. It could be your own demon that you end up arguing with. So it's the same as you doth protest too much, or it could be that whatever you resist persists. These expressions that have been around for a really long time, we need to take them into account. Now I know some when we're younger we don't. Where you young people have been, I have been. Where I am now, you will be. And it's such a lovely thing. That's a Greek expression that my grandmother used to say to me all the time. And I go, yeah, she's right. She's right. Where I've been, she's been, and where she will be. But not that I could understand it. So even as you listen to me, you might go, oh, I don't understand it. But what you can do is try to see everything from a perspective of health and understanding, though it might not be for you. Just like someone could say, a really healthy diet is keto and eating meat. And another person might say, a really healthy diet is vegan, no animal products. Great. There's nothing wrong with that. The only thing wrong would be forcing the person who is having vegan to have keto. They're not going to do very well. Likely, if they followed their gut brain and their intuition and they know that eating these foods is doing really well and all their blood tests come up really, really well, then we know, okay, that's a great diet. So I'm not against, I don't think any of us need to be against any idea. But with the moment we're against something for another person, that's not so good. That's not so good. All right. So if you're promoting something that is good for you and you're pushing me to have it, no, that there's something not quite right there. So it's the same thing with this beautiful, strange word. People hear this word commitment, and that's their first reaction. So think about it. Think about what you might look back on your family and say you had the most wonderful family. That's fantastic. So you know what it's all about. But a lot of us look back and go, wow, my family caused a lot of difficulties for me. And I don't know if I want to have that. I don't know if I want to recreate that. I don't know if I want any of that going on. And also, I blame my parents for my troubles. These are things that need to be looked at differently. All right, let's see how my intuition is working on this and see what the next card is that we want to bring up. So I'm just going to spread the cards, pull one out from the middle, and we've got release, surrender, and purge. All right, so with everything that I've intuited from the first card comes the second card is, especially on the last aspect, like releasing our definitions or framing of family, home, and commitment. That has to be released. I gave you a little story for some of the ones I released in the past. And also, if we think our parents did something wrong and we blame them for our state, well, remember you're aiming really low. If you blame yesterday for today, or you blame yourself in the past for what's going on today, you're aiming so low. Like you're not going to get anywhere. You're going to keep hitting that target all the time. That's where you're going to go. You're not going to go anywhere else. So there's a time to kind of go, well, that did happen to me. That did happen to me, and I've had some really awful things happen to me in my life. And sure, they lingered as painful wounds that go on. Of course they do. I'm trying to think of the one that's one of the worst things that happened to me in my life. And I no longer have tears even if I think about it. I used to have all kinds of different, went through many stages of it, even though it happened to me when I was 23 years old. And uh, we can purge all of the surrounding framework that leads to it till we finally understand. Look, you're walking through this world. It can be dangerous. It can be nice, but I can't make the world do something that I want. I'm going to have to, obviously protect myself. But if something does go bad, I need to find a way to get that to work for me. And I also need to find ways in which I take care of myself and my family and my grouping, my group, let's say, or my groups, or my many, many groups. Or, I think every single one of us are in this together. I don't think we differ too much. But when someone believes that what I was saying at the beginning, when someone believes that their way, whether it's food, whether it's religion, whether it's way of living, right? No matter what, and they're trying to force someone else. And also, you can look within yourself and see, when is somebody just giving you an understanding of a different perspective of life, and then you feel forced, right? Then you feel, and that's a very particular thing, right? So when I was young, and I used to make fun a lot that the Greeks would say, "When are you going to get married? When are you going to get married?" I used to feel very forced. Now I look back, it was just a way of seeing the world. They were just saying, "When are you going to get married?" That was all they were doing. But I feel this very, strong energy to fight it as though it was a bad thing. Boy, was I wrong. I was dead wrong. You have preferences. That's just fine. You can prefer to do whatever you want to. Whatever it is you want to do is just fine. But there's no reason to go up against someone who has a different perception of how they want to live their lives. So we need to release and purge those things that create this invisible wall of belief systems, because what weighs nothing but can start a war? A belief. So sure, we all believe different things. Fine. Just we don't need to push it on anyone else, nor do we have to get angry about it. This is where surrender comes in. And our last card is confusion and illusions. Well, that's pretty much everything that we're talking about. So ultimately, when you're looking at this week, even if you kind of clarify your idea of commitment and home and family, and then you're trying to release, surrender, and purge, all of the let's say rigid beliefs or ideas that you have, then your last bit is, well, it's so funny. You might just come up with a lot of confusion, because one of the things that our strong beliefs help do for us is they give us a little bit of structure. They give us a little bit of stability. Now, it's a fine line, isn't it? So you got stability, you've got a structure. We need that as humans, right? One of the things I think I've said before, try this. You could try this if you want to see how much instability or having no structure at all will just quickly degrade your life. You could say, okay, for the next unlimited amount of time, I'm not going to wake up at a particular time. I'm not going to go to bed at a particular time. I'm not going to work. I'm going to do whatever I want. I'm going to stay in my pajamas. I'm not going to clean. I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to, have no structures whatsoever. And you'll probably notice you get quite depressed quite quickly. Like you'll eat whatever you want, you'll watch whatever you want, you just do whatever you want. And you'll notice you become, and this is without a structure, without times, without a structure. Eventually you'll find that you'll be looking for one. And if you're not looking for one, you'll become depressed. Okay. So we do need some form of structure. So it's also, if we go from the beginning of this whole reading and we look at the home, family, commitment, and then you get to confusion and illusions. A lot of us might find my story interesting, where I was very sure about my ideas about family, about home and commitment, and that I knew exactly what I was going to do. And then one day I woke up and I went, wow, I'm really confused. Everything that I believed was an illusion. So thinking that their structure is a good thing, having ideas about what that structure is an illusion, because there's no particular set structure for each person. There are some people who are night owls, some people who are morning people. As long as you have a time that you go to bed and you wake up. If somebody goes to bed at midnight or 1 in the morning, and wakes up a little later, okay, that's fine. Some people like to work out in the morning. Some people like to work out in the afternoon. Some people like to, eat little bits throughout the day. Some people just like to eat 3 set meals. Some people like to fast for 24 hours and then eat, a meal and a snack, and then another 24 hours goes by and they eat a meal and a snack. So, there's a variation, but the structure is there. If you're unstructured, you'll find it's difficult. Now, there's also one other aspect here, is that if you're I lost what I was going to say. I was looking at over rigidity. Yeah, over rigidity. I guess we'd have to go to the other end. If my structure and my ideas become super rigid, that can be difficult too. It could be a resistance to flexibility in the brain to any new ideas. So you wouldn't be able to explore or find any new ideas. All right, my loves, there you go. There's your view of the week. Something strong to think about. Please comment, like, and share. That'll help the video out to get out. And yeah, we can have a discussion. Maybe we could even create a new community. Thank you so much, and see you next week.